Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. Welcome home, y'all. This is episode 108. This is Native Land Pod, where we give you all of our perspectives, whether you want them or not, on everything political, and we throw some culture in there every now and again. I'm your host for today, Andrew Gillum, and I'm joined by the very special
Thank you so
Bakari
much.
Sellers.
I just knew that's where you were
Very
going.
special. Joining Bakari, Mr. Special, also known as Beehive Bay, Beyonce, is
Also
the
known none of these
incomparable Tiffany Cross, Miss Cross. And, of course, Miss Angela Rye. What's up, y'all?
I like how you introduced the guys first this time.
Yeah, you know, you have to change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So much for
took
Queen
100
Latifah. So much for ladies first.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
I'll
all
open
good.
the door for either of you today. Since
Yes,
we are
first.
what? Together, everybody?
I love when we do the show together in person.
I love
it has
it
a
too.
completely different feel.
Yes, it's much warmer. So tell me, y'all, I hope y'all got filled up this last week, you know, on some thankfulness, some gratitude, and some good food. With that, what are we talking about today? What are we getting into? A lot is in the news, y'all. What's up? Bakari, you first.
I had an opportunity this week during my other job to talk about Pete Hegseth and these boat strikes. I was on with Katie Miller,
Yes.
Stephen Miller's other half. And so it was a fascinating conversation. Hopefully we can dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, I love
I've
it.
got thoughts about that because I saw it.
That
lot about
interview or the topic?
I saw the whole show,
No,
and
I
I have a
mean
lot of thoughts about
Hegseth.
it. I have a lot of thoughts about all of it.
There
I
you
got
go.
thoughts about
Well,
Hegseth,
throw your
and I got
topic
a lot
in
of
here,
thoughts.
though.
Okay, well, what I want to talk about is every week I really appreciate when our viewers take the time to get on video and ask us questions. So again, this week I yielded my time because I want to make sure that we are able to hear from all of our viewers, and I know a few questions were directed to us. I want to make sure we get to all of those.
Absolutely. I love it. Angela Rye, what you got?
We will be joined by Ilhan Omar, who is the illustrious Congresswoman for I almost said Mississippi.
Lord.
But she would join Benny Gordon Thompson. I would love it too. But she is in Minnesota's 5th Congressional District. And as you all know, just this week, Donald Trump had the nerve to call her garbage. And also say some very pejorative things derogatory things also about the Somali Americans in her district and in Minnesota writ large. So we're going to talk to her about that, as well as ICE's plans to raid Minnesota under the guise of whatever they think is happening with Somalian fraud that this, right-wing mainstream media continues to perpetuate.
I can't wait to dig into that, especially when you consider the fraud issue and the national landscape around fraud. Nonetheless, y'all, we got a lot to get to, so let's get into it.
Where should we start first?
I actually am going to start with a question.
Oh, good.
Let's go.
Good. So we'll be sure to get some in.
Peace, family. Welcome home. Shout out to Nick. Shout out to Lolo. Bakari, I love the addition. I love the interaction that you have together. I think it's super dope. I love that you had my Attorney General, Andrea Campbell, on. You definitely should have my Mayor Michelle Wu, on. I think that'll be really dope. She would have a lot of things to say. She is one of the fighters against Trump that I love and I'm proud of. But I guess my question is, it's relating to a lot of you all's banter, I'll use, for lack of better terms, but just going back and forth, right? And what I'm feeling today is a lot of friends that I have don't so much share, the passion and the activism and the things that are tangible to me that we all should be doing. Right, and I think there's an approach that may be a little passive, and I judge that, so I'm working on that. I guess my question is, how do you all deal with friends in your individual lives that either have opposing political views or they're not engaged at all, and they're like, oh, do all that political shit? Sorry for swearing, but y'all swear. So, but anyway, sorry. But how do you deal with that? Let me know. I'm dying to know. Welcome home.
Oh, I love that. He
I
also
like that.
new song.
And Nick, just so the viewers know, Nick and Lolo and the production staff here. Nick is our producer, and Lolo is our everything. I don't even know what her title is. She catches everything. So when he was giving a shout out, that's who he was talking about.
Barkley.
I think he asked a question that a lot of people are asking, particularly over the holidays. And as as divisive as this country has become, even in our own families, I was watching the balloon pop. You watch those, like the dating shows?
I hate
like
that.
I love
I
that.
hate that
I find
love
them
it.
to be
I hate it.
utter comedy.
It is
I love it. And
hilarious.
so there was one guy who was like, she said, the young lady asked him, who did you vote for in 2024?
I saw that.
And he was like, oh, I don't vote. And it's not, because you just don't know. And she went through her list of accomplishments and educational achievements. And she was like, I understand the process. And you were born into this, so you need to play a part. And he was like, nah, you just don't understand. If you think that you can impact with your vote what happens in the federal system. And it just had me thinking that there are a lot of people who either are on the diametrically opposed or sitting out. And like, how do you engage those people?
Yeah.
And for me, I found that the people that I talk about the most with those type of folk are, because he actually brought it up, Mayor Wu, Brandon Scott. I think about Frank Scott. I think about Andre Dickens. I think about Vi Lyles.
Randall
Wolfen. I'm thinking about all those mayors that are on the front lines doing the good things that don't necessarily carry a partisan like backpack. And I utilize them and talk about the good work that they're doing in our local communities and on the front lines fighting against fascism, like she is in Boston, like Brandon is in Chicago, because that's where I start the conversation with those folk who, otherwise it's hard to jump in and be like, well, how you feel about abortion? And then the conversation devolves. I think if you start with these folk who are on the front lines fighting for those tangible things we believe in, but also make our lives better day in and day out, that's kind of where I start.
Yeah.
Can I say real quick about Pop the Balloon?
Please.
I do not like it. I don't find it, I don't laugh at that show. It's so sad to me. And that exchange, I think, crystallizes why. Because I was wondering, how is this even showing up in my feed? It's because Bakari liked it, clearly.
I like it too.
Because both of y'all put it in my feed.
I don't understand. Like,
I think there is
people
something
gotta find
sad,
love everywhere.
But that's the point. It's not, to me, it does not represent Black love or people finding love. And the fact that
There
they
was just a
stand
red balloon
across...
proposal.
That is 1 out of 1,000.
That's the only one I know of. It might be more than that. I don't know. But
The point I'm making, though, is it's not funny to me to see Black people stand there and insult each other. Like
I like to play the dozens on the playground, too. I'm good.
I don't like that. One, I don't like any humor where I'm like the butt of the joke and it's a put down.
We know.
That's not funny to me. If I'm joking with people, I uplift that, I don't know. I just don't like that. And I don't think it's representative of what our love for each other has been, and that's been the only thing that has helped us survive this 400-year nightmare. So even that, I think, is a perfect example, because once she said that, the comments were so awful. And they were like, she gonna die alone, and she angry. Like, nobody was supporting her position of, yes, this guy should be doing something. And for people who don't know, they ask, well, is he someone that's your type? And it's like, her shoes messed up, and I don't like her hair. And it's just the most awful
Do you see the
exchange.
size? Do you see the size of my head? Can you imagine having the size of
your
this head in elementary school and middle school?
Aw, poor
And how
B.
much
Bakari
they
grew into it.
It was my ears.
Listen,
I don't like it.
Dumbo.
It was
I
my
said at that
peach
table.
fuzz.
Dumbo.
I said at that table.
I don't like it. Angela is
I've
saying
never seen it. I
Hey.
remember we titled the show "Pop
was-
the Balloon." I was
I
like,
remember
"What is
that.
this?"
Angela, you say I'm shallow. I think y'all, honest, I'm just going to say, I think y'all are all beautiful people.
Because you're normally the
Yes.
terrorist on this, I'm gonna get back to the question.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Just
Thank
say-
you.
and
Thank
just
you.
say,
Keep us on track.
I'm gonna pop your balloon and get back onto this topic here. Pun intended.
Okay,
But
fair
the
enough.
joke, but I love you still. Okay.
Yes.
So I think that it's so important for us to back people out of politics into direct needs. And it's a lot of what we talked about over the summer, the spring. There are so many people who have felt like the process hasn't served them. And even when they see themselves reflected, oftentimes they don't see their basic needs being reflected. They hear people saying the right things, but they don't necessarily see people doing the right things. That is not the truth across the board, but politics gets naturally painted with a very broad brush because people have so many needs being met. So I regularly will say to somebody who says, I don't do politics, I will go in an audience and say, how many of you believe that people want or deserve clean drinking water? How many of you believe that people deserve to be fed? How many of you, I'll do that because people don't know how much those politics impact those basic human needs and rights. So I try to do it that way, and I hope we can continue starting at where we agree, and then you can build out to see where the disagreements begin to pop up. I think that's the only way.
Yeah.
But those are audiences. Like, what about your friends?
I do that with my friends.
But do you have friends who are like, I'm not really, I don't do politics? You
absolutely.
Oh, I did too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Friends,
Family members for sure.
You see this crispy lineup? I was in the barbershop this morning, and they were talking about.
Can you try not centering yourself?
He
Just
can't.
one
He can't.
time
Were they in the
a
barbershop
response.
saying they don't do politics?
Huh?
They said they don't do politics?
Oh, they don't care about it. Not like that.
Yeah.
You know what
Absolutely.
I find, and I wish that we could all do a better job at this, is that most times when people say, man, they don't work, they don't do nothing, that
That's
sort of
right.
thing, it's almost always beginning with the belief that, one, they're not there to serve them. Two, they're all corrupt and out for themselves, and they're on the take.
Mm-hmm.
And if they ever do anything for you, they only did that because of what they got on the other side of it, right? They only did that so that the cameras could catch them doing it. They only did that because X, Y, and Z. And I just wish, one, that cynical view has legs. We can all point to people
Yeah.
in elective office who we don't think is quite the right model. Yet they're out there, they're thinking being on the internet and posting is your activism. That's your service to the community rather than, trying to become a celebrity rather than a public servant.
Yep.
So we all know examples of that. But I got to tell you, in my time as an elected official, in the thousands that I met and the many that I helped to train, I can pick out on these two hands the ones who I thought were toxic and did not deserve and shouldn't be in public service.
That's great.
Most every one of them had a powerful story and narrative as to what took them there. They are very clear-eyed about what it is that they feel they have to do as a payback, right? Even if they're on the come up now, there's a commitment to like, man, I struggled through that, and now I want to go back and make that easier for someone else. So everybody's fallible, right? We all
I
make
got
mistakes.
one of your toxic ones in case you want me to name
I don't. I got enough.
Kirsten Cinema.
Oh, stop it.
Sorry.
So, but the point is like
She ain't
we
lying.
have to intervene. Back on track.
I didn't center myself. I was
Sorry.
centering.
You center.
I did
center.
interrupt.
That's
I did
true.
interrupt.
No,
I
I
apologize.
just want to say I think those of us who know better should speak up. Like, don't join the chorus so easily when people are tearing down public servants, elected officials, government in and of itself, because the government is there in ways that none of us are thinking about most days. The road that is paved that gets you from your home to your job. The buses that serve you, even though it is not profitable for that service to be continued. The parks and recreations that your kids play at.
Yep.
The team sports and the recreation league that folks participate in. All of that stuff is subsidized. Most all of it is subsidized and not profit making for local communities. They do it for the quality of life. To make sure that, they're firm believers. Many of these servants are firm believers that everybody ought to have access to these things.
Yes.
Regardless of what their parents do for work, what they make, what school they graduated from or didn't graduate from. So I think we who know better should really start to do better and intervene against this conversation, because the effects of that negative lens has perpetual negative impacts on our community. Not voting, checking out, not addressing the issues through the right systematic process, but rather I'll figure it out. I'll wire some cable.
I think that when he
to my
was
neighbor too.
talking about friends,
Yeah.
so yes, there are people, all of your answers make perfect sense to me. I think a part of the strategy now is to flood the zone with chaos, where it becomes too much. We're asking you to care about everything, so you end up caring about nothing.
Correct.
And then chaos feels normal and quiet feels eerie. And that's what we see happening right now. So yes, there are people who understand politics impacts my life. Of course, my friends are mothers and, people who work in various industry, but they don't always consume the minutia of Beltway politics.
Of course not.
Yes, and that I think sometimes it's like a slow chokehold on us that's happening over time that we don't notice that we're breathing less.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it is at some point it becomes normal. Like, oh, so-and-so got disappeared today.
Yeah.
This person's house project is on pause because they came on the construction site and disappeared everybody. Donald Trump called somebody garbage today, which we'll talk about later in the show. Donald Trump told a reporter, he said, quiet piggy, to a reporter. These things become normal to us. Donald Trump killed people on the open seas today.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's threatening to arrest his political opponents. All of these things are normalized until it becomes, oh, we just don't care. And we have a feckless media who aids in that normalization. I think that's the danger. Because even I think sometimes I can get overwhelmed with it, you know, where it feels like I don't even know how to start. Like, where do we begin to fight back?
And I think that the bridge for us to cross is there are those of us who are watching it, have people who are involved in shaping the policies, or at least should be in, you know, in an ordinary democracy, that would prevent some of the hell that Donald Trump is wreaking on the country. But there are also people who are just like, you're asking me to care about this thing, and I just am trying to put food on my table. You know, I'm in a blue state, and I support these people, and now my SNAP benefits are potentially being cut because blue state governors don't want to share data with this administration. So now they're going to cut all SNAP because they don't want to be going through this bootleg vetting process where they potentially kick everybody black off of SNAP, right?
Yeah.
So there are these other things where you have decided I'm not even gonna touch it because I don't know where to be because I'm not informed enough. And then when I don't touch it, I'm still penalized. So that's why I extra don't want to touch it.
So Angela, that's why I would not make the argument of trying to sell people to care about all the different issues.
Yeah.
I just want them to care about the things that they encounter. And that's why I'm saying, as simple as your kid participating in the Parks and Recs department, when that federal funding gets cut, and then the city council has to decide where to rob Peter to pay Paul, because there are some basic things that cities have to do. And then there's the accoutrement. Then there's the nice to-dos, the paving of sidewalks, the building of parks. These are not automatics in communities.
Yeah, they're not.
And by and large, most people can look at their community and say, it's the rich or the wealthier side of town that has the best of all of it. They all got sidewalks. Their roads are always repaved.
Always.
They're, so on and so forth. So I'm just saying, I wish you would care about all the other things, but if you're just dealing with you and your household, just think of the obvious ways in which a change in your government can impact everything and upset and topsy-turvy your life.
My power been out 9 times this year.
Come on.
What y'all doing in the house?
No, it's transmission.
It's the entire block. 9 times this year.
It's transmission.
Because there's a faulty wire that we have to lobby PSE to make sure they change. And they allegedly...
What is PSE?
Oh,
Public Service
Commission.
No, it's not. It's the Puget Sound Energy Company. But it's,
it's the Public Service Commission.
Basically, but it's Puget Sound Energy Company. So it's a public-private partnership.
Yeah.
We have to lobby them to get them to stop doing it or threaten to sue.
Sound like you need to run for the Public Service Commission.
I'm not doing that. But my point is, I will support the candidate that's going to keep the damn lights on.
The thing...
So when you said household, it reminded me. Because all politics is local as in the house.
I appreciate Andrew's view and the optimism about elected officials. I also think that comes from a different perspective because I didn't get that in the legislature. And the main reason I didn't get that in the legislature, when I got elected, I remember...
I should have qualified. My work was with mostly Democrats, but go ahead.
Yeah, mine is actually, I'm actually castigating Democrats in this particular, and black Democrats. But when I first got there, there's this picture of me. I was 21 years old, and I'm in the LA Times, and I'm looking up at the ceiling, and I was like, I can't believe that I'm here. And then after about 2 weeks, I was like, I can't believe you're here. Can't believe you're here. Like, who elected you?
Disrespectful.
I mean, people in there falling asleep.
Yeah.
And I think that, to your point, this is just the kind of opposite view that I know you want us to build trust. But when people see and they see their parents vote for them, and then you vote for them, and they're there for 30 years, but your circumstances haven't changed, it's very hard for you to go out there and say, look, rah, rah, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it right the next 2 years, right. Although the last 28 years it's been XYZ. Yeah. And so a lot of that is on us because I just feel like our leadership in the black community, both in the church and elected, has become really, really stagnant. And that is a harsh overgeneralization. I admit that on its face. But I do think that is also eroding trust, and we're starting to see the remnants of it. I mean, I think that particularly with Black men, you're starting to see, and people, when you sit in poverty or you sit in environments that don't change, I mean, it becomes very depressing.
Yeah, stifling.
It's very hard to care about things out. To your point, it's very hard to care about things outside of those things that you touch. And so we just have to do a better job of having a refreshing outlook on our media. I'm talking about Black folk. This is all I'm talking about here. Not Democrats, not Republicans, Black folk. Our media, our civics or civil rights organizations, our elected officials, our church, the very foundations of our community. And that's what Donald Trump, that's what he highlighted. Yeah. When he came through as a force of nature, he showed us that our organizations, our foundation, our structures are not prepared to take this on. We're figuring out as we go, but hell, we're 9 years in now.
Yeah.
10 years in now. I mean, so that was my view.
The only response I would have, and I know we want to move on to the other issues, is to say, yes, there is a stagnation. I think we've been lullabied into a dizzy spell where we really don't understand the environment by which all of us are trying to survive through on the big, grand scale, not just individual scale. But I also think we take for granted how hard it is to keep just the things that you have coming. Take, for instance, the cuts that happen to Medicaid or the absence of expansion in certain states.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know the fight that many legislators, and I'm not caping for all. I know all of us have our Achilles heels in these positions. All pride begets all of us in these positions. But I'm talking about the larger, grander picture. When we say nothing gets done, well, don't say nothing gets done because you still on Medicaid, and you don't know how many times we had to sleep in on the floor of the well of the Capitol to make sure you didn't get dumped off that program, right? So I think we oftentimes take an ungenerous view of the work that public servants do.
I agree. I mean, I want to give a shout out to Leon Howard and Gilda Cobb Hunter.
A rattler?
Yeah, she's a great
Gilda.
rattler. And they back in 2004, I believe it was, before I got there, they staged a walkout in South Carolina because we had the fewest number of Black judges.
Yeah.
Just so that we would have more Black judges. Now, we went from it being a 4-seat difference to them now having a supermajority. So a lot of times, you're right. A lot of times, the efforts you make tangibly may look futile.
Yeah.
However, those efforts allow you to do things and chip around the edges to have some successes. You're right. I think that neither one of the things that we're saying have to be mutually exclusive.
No, they're not wrong. I agree, and I agree with you on many of those points. I'll take one last example. When I was mayor,
After
and
this, we're going to the next topic.
It's his show today.
No, it's all good. I think this is a good civics conversation for the community. But there was a request for proposal coming through for who was going to bid on managing the city's retirement funds. These are
$1 billion.
Hundreds of millions of dollars, largely
Yes, indeed.
Black people's money.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But there was a condition in the request for proposal that your firm had to have existed for a minimum of 20 years to be qualified to complete the RFP. Well, at this time, I'm thinking, well, who hadn't been around 20 years? We've had the great collapse and under Obama's first year, but the transition between Bush and Obama, a bunch of Wall Street firms bled employees. Black folks set up firms in Chicago and in New York and in California and other places, but they didn't have a 25-year history to be responsive. And so I said, I'm sorry, we got to ask the question, who wasn't here 25 years ago? Why is that? Tell me fiduciarily why 25 years is the amount of years you have to be in a business. Why couldn't we look at a portfolio and determine if they are successful at investments or not successful? And if they're successful, over what horizon? 3 years, 5 years, 8 years? That, to me, are the types of things that you would want to look at in a request for proposal. Long story short, we changed that. And guess what? Of the 5 folks who manage the money, 2 now are minority, or at least at that time when we made the change, 2 of them now are minority firms. And I'm talking about Black and Hispanic. right? So again, monotony. No one's going to pay attention to the what citizen is caring about RFP? Well, I care about it because we're trying to build black wealth.
Yeah.
And create tens of millionaires. So yes, the work is hard. It's treacherous, and there are some treacherous electeds out there. I'm not defending it, but I think we ought to look more oftentimes at what the full picture looks like, and I think we'll realize that the glass is more full than empty. Y'all, I'd love to jump over to your topic, Bakari. I think you were the one who talked about Hegseth.
Yeah.
Initially, I actually want to toss to a clip so that we can hear some of your words in advance.
We don't get enough of Bakari, so by all means, let's lay some sound.
Now, I just want to point out that he's the butt of a joke. I just want to point that out.
It's uplifting. We don't get enough of Bakari.
He's the butt of the joke?
He's not the butt of the joke. I'm uplifting him.
Okay, all right.
I want to go back to something that Bakari said. He said that those orders that were given, the drug boats in Venezuela, were illegal. Can you cite those statutes, please?
Yes, because it's actually called the Due Process Clause of the United States of America. Because can you point to one of those boats that actually had drugs on them? Do you know that? Do you know about the Trinidadians who were killed innocently, who were just fishermen? Can you actually kill those fishermen without due process? So the answer to the question is yes. I can cite the Constitution, just as Scott did.
If you go and say that those were members of Al-Qaeda or ISIS coming to our shores with enough drugs or enough ammunition to kill 100,000 Americans, wouldn't you expect our commander-in-chief to take action to stop that? That's what's happening here. That is what's happened, by the way. That's what happens in every war zone, whether you go to Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, Somalia. Go there. Let's talk about it.
Give me one name of one individual that you can compare to Al-Qaeda coming through that had enough fentanyl to kill all these Americans. Can you name one?
That's fair.
Not a one.
So fentanyl doesn't come from Venezuela, which is like one of the most glaring parts about that debate.
Too bad the media's not pointing that out.
And by the way,
and
why are you in the Caribbean?
80% of fentanyl that comes into this country comes from American citizens, not from undocumented immigrants at all.
So you know the facts. I mean, what this is for our listeners. That was Bakari Sellers and Mrs. Miller, the wife
Katie
of
Miller.
Stephen Miller, basically the president, the shadow president of the United States.
Correct.
Every memo, every position this president's come out with has run across Stephen Miller's desk, likely authored by him, and then signed by the president. But early on, when this administration decided it was going to start targeting boats in the open sea in South America and in the Caribbean, I gave the example that, say there's surveillance, that political enemy of the president. A lot of people go off the coast of Florida and into the Caribbean. They have their own boats. Who's to say that you might not catch a regular citizen with no affiliate? And as far as we know, every one of them who has been killed so far is a regular citizen, not our citizens, but is a human being who has not been caught physically with trafficking drugs. I have not seen one, and please correct me if I'm wrong, one press conference where they have dredged the material up from the explosion and bought back kilos of cocaine, of fentanyl, of whatever it is that they're alleging that these folks are shipping in the open sea. And so there is something called due process, of course. There's also the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. But what we have here is a president or a defense secretary who has decided to be the judge. No, I'm sorry, the accuser.
Yeah.
The investigator, the attorney who then tries them, the state attorney or the U.S. attorney, and then the judge, the jury, and the executioner, all in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
Our Constitution isn't set up that way. The president doesn't get to decide that. No one individual gets to play all those roles. And so now we see where we are. And I'm wondering, just after the last week's reporting from the Washington Post, where it was discovered that in a September bombing on one sea vessel, that the two people who survived after the initial bomb, or maybe the first two initial bombs, there were two survivors who were hanging on to debris in the water. And it is reported in source that the Secretary of Defense, Secretary Hegseth, gave instruction to the admiral to kill all of them. These were survivors of the bombs who were now in the water, and given instruction to have their lives taken by the U.S. military. Y'all, tell me, please help us make sense of what we think accountability is going to look like in this situation. We see some movement on the Hill. I'd like to be optimistic that there's be some accountability for these illegal actions before my cousins and them and others find themselves in the crosshairs.
I think what we should also acknowledge is that accountability is not likely to come from the United States. One of the people who was killed in one of the strikes that now have killed over 80 people in Central and South America is a man named Alejandro Carranza Medina, and they filed a complaint with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, saying that his due process rights were violated, as well as a right to a fair trial under international law. And I bring that up just to say, we are expecting that this law, this legal system, that this justice system would serve its people, but we are seeing this legal system regularly side with the illegality of the Trump administration. And so despite the fact that whatever this Human Rights Commission decides is not binding, it is still fair to say that that might be the only place where someone even sees justice from an opinion. And I think that is what is really scary about this. They are painting people with such a broad brush. I know we're going to talk about what they're saying about Somali Americans later, but we're talking about Colombians and Venezuelans and Jamaicans and other folks who live in the Caribbean, how they're saying, like, everybody, a fisherman is a drug dealer now. Yeah. You know, it is beyond. And so I'm hoping that Congress will find a bipartisan pathway, that the Republicans would set its racism aside, its xenophobia aside, to do the right thing from a standpoint of what is just and right. And I just don't know that that's going to be the case.
And if they don't have to determine what is just and right, maybe they could decide that, you know what if a Democrat were in the White House and decided to ad hoc put the U.S. Military off the coast of Europe and decided to then sink yachts.
But even outside our politics, I think, Bakari, I know this is your place of employment, but I have a challenge. I don't think it should be up to you to defend what is righteous and truth. I think the fact that she was posing this question quite arrogantly to an attorney, as though he wasn't going to have a ready answer to destroy every stupid point she made. If only we had journalists to do that job. I think presenting this as though it's political fodder, as though, one side says it's okay to randomly open fire against presumed innocent people in the ocean. Another side says that's wrong. So let's debate this and talk about it. It is not political fodder. These are people's lives. And I just wonder, what is the bar for what you can go on some of these networks and say? What is the bar where it says, this actually does go against humanity? We should not have this person on espousing these beliefs. I truly, it's a genuinely honest question that I think we as the audience, because we're the true power broker for tuning into these things, we have to start asking, why is this person allowed to go on there and lie routinely? So me as a panelist, I have to disrupt and disprove. And the host and it's not, I think we have an unfair expectation of Abby often because she looks like us. And so we expect, like, you of all people, like, we don't want to see you do this. But it's quite frankly not just her show. Every show on that network will present these absurd views and say, let's talk about it. And I just
on every network now.
Every network. And that is part of normalizing the craziness that we see. Is putting it out there like, oh, this is just, we have to give conservative ideology a space to breathe. And it's not. It is right-wing extremism that we're presenting as though it's a debate. And so that's my biggest challenge.
Yeah, and I hear you. And that is, Abby and I had this conversation because I was like, I texted her on Saturday morning. I said, did you watch the show last night? And, I was like, you're viral now. Not for this particular discussion, but because of she and Katie Miller.
Katie was disrespectful to Abby.
Yeah, Katie was disrespectful. And,
oh, my God.
Abby was able to, and I love her to death, and she was able to kind of hold her on. But that is the conversation that engulfs the larger conversation, which is what you're talking about. Like, I want people to understand that the conversation Tiffany is talking about is a conversation that actually is had between host and guest and everyone else. Like, what does journalism look like today? And my counterpoint to you is that if I did not have that opportunity to have that debate with Katie Miller, then oftentimes there are echo chambers which have pierced that fourth wall where her voice would be heard unchecked. And what we've seen is that they go into these spaces, they go into these podcasts, they go into these networks, and what we always thought were Republican echo chambers that only Republicans listen to has actually pierced that fourth wall, and now it's made it into mainstream even without the networks. Now, this is when I really see the ground to you, Tiffany, because you actually are the journalist in the room. So you have those type of standards and ethics and morals. But just from a consumer of news and one who like plays, commentator on TV, I was just thankful for the opportunity to be able to have my opportunity to push back on it. Now, I mean, just from a legal perspective, that's one argument. Shifting gears a little bit, from a legal perspective, people are like, well, they don't even deserve due process. And my argument to that is, if you're actually going out there to capture someone who you believe is bringing drugs into the United States to be held accountable under our system of jurisprudence, then yes, you can't have it both ways. But regardless, one of the things the United States has been able to do, save for George W. Bush, has been able to keep us out of this international court system because the Geneva Convention also applies. Like, you can't indiscriminately kill people, civilians. You can't even indiscriminately kill people who are
enemy combatants
who have given themselves up.
That's right.
Right?
Or are debilitated from fighting.
Correct.
So they could have not given up.
Correct.
But don't have a weapon and don't have the means to now fight back.
And so you saw the African American, the black man, and his name escapes me now, but he had been an admiral for 3 decades, who resigned his post quietly, didn't embarrass nobody. Didn't pull a Lane Kiffin, right? Didn't resign under the cover of darkness and catch a plane to LSU. He didn't do any of that. He just was very respectful.
Not to LSU.
Now you have Admiral Bradley, who Pete Hegseth has thrown under the bus because he said, well, he called those strikes.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just, and at the end of the day, there may be accountability. It ain't gonna be where it should be.
Yeah.
There'll be some heads that are rolling, but it ain't gonna be the ones that should.
We should play this clip from Pete Hegseth from 2016 because how tables have turned.
No.
If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard, there's an ethos, there's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
So they just lambasted Democrats for the last 2 weeks, calling them Benedict Arnolds traitors.
Calling for their death.
Their deaths, their
treasonous,
hangings,
yes.
Yeah.
so on and so forth, because they said what was the law, what is the standard within the U.S. military.
U.S. military
the cabinet and from the commander-in-chief that you wouldn't give or authorize them to follow unlawful orders. And the fact that they simply said, do not follow unlawful orders, they're like, traitor! Well, who they trading?
I think Tiffany's itching to jump in, but I have a conspiracy theory, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all.
I am. Go ahead.
My wife is very much a conspiracy theorist. Like, she doesn't believe in coincidences, none of that. Like, anyway, people are going to ask the question why, right? Like, for somebody who's listening to the show, they'll be like, okay, they're bombing people in the middle of the Caribbean. Like, why? Like, none of this really makes sense without an answer to the question why. What's of value? Why are we, is it really because the war on drugs? I mean, is that what it's really about? And I have come to the conclusion that it's not. I have come to the conclusion that this is all about Venezuelan oil. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if it's a conspiracy theory as much as it's like geopolitical, like gut check. Yeah. But if you see us ramp up outside of, we actually have naval vessels that have pulled up to the coast of Venezuela.
By the way, that have left the previous territories where they were assigned in the Strait of Taiwan.
Correct.
off the coast of Russia. I mean, we're the real hotspots in the world. In fact, the hottest hotspots in the world when it comes to threats to the United States of America and our interest across the globe. They removed those and brought it into, frankly, the quiet part of the world.
And this is
they
why
also, sorry, Tip, just
No,
to this
go ahead,
point,
go
to
ahead.
this point, just to add a country under what you're talking about. He also just pardoned Juan Orlando
Honduras.
Hernandez.
I can't figure that out. I can't put that into my conspiracy theory.
Oh my God! Here you go. Tell him, Tiff. Connect the dots for us.
A drug trafficker.
Yes.
Pardon this man.
Indicted.
Pardon
and
this
found
man.
guilty by Americans.
Yes. Pardoned him. So, and Venezuela's oil is less than 1% of the globe's oil production. But imagine the United States getting their hands on that. Maduro himself has said, like, this is about the oil. But this is also why I would say having an understanding of foreign policy and global movement does directly impact us in our politics and our policy here. The only thing I was itching to jump in, Bakari, because I disagreed with something you said, and I didn't want to not come back to
jump
the
in
point.
anytime, yeah.
Well, when you were saying if we don't respond to those voices, like a Katie Miller type, then they go left unchecked. I don't believe that requires us to roll out the red carpet for right-wing extremists and cede platforms to them. You guys remember when Megyn Kelly was being an apologist for
What happened to her?
pedophilia?
I was just talking about her on my solo
I saw
pod
that. I
yesterday.
didn't watch it, but I saw it. Was said, "Don't
She
touch my
did. She
hair."
just said, what did she just say?
She
Recently?
was
Michelle?
discussing.
It was something else.
I'm talking about her pedophile comments.
Oh, that
Oh,
one. When
that's
she
right.
said he, when she,
There's a
when she
difference
say
between
what
a
he was.
7-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Yes.
She was like, but he
Shut
wasn't.
up.
But he wasn't 8. Like, what are we talking about?
They're children.
But
She's sick.
she was not the only person in that conversation. Joining her was Batia Unger Sargon, who is
Batia's
right
on
next.
all the time. Yeah.
This is my point. Batia is sitting there agreeing with her.
Who is
saying,
that?
Yes, precisely. She called herself a journalist. She worked for a few outlets, and now she's doing CNN show and often does Abby's show. Now, you're telling me, we all know people who are not allowed on CNN anymore, but a person who is an apologist for pedophilia is invited to come back to the platform. You can say disrespectful things about Black people. You can say all kind of things. You're invited back. And apparently you can also say it's okay to fuck a 15-year-old and be invited on these networks. That is not a voice to me. Like, invite a member of NAMBLA next. That's not a voice to me that should be invited to the table. So this is my challenge with the networks. I don't want to hear from Katie Miller. To me, I look at that and I'm like, it's kind of insulting to me to see Bakari there, because it suggests that Bakari and Katie
footing.
Miller are the same thing.
But they've been doing that for
But
years.
I
agree.
But I also
I
like
agree.
that. But I mean, that's why I always. Okay, if I were to give you credit for a depiction and call your depiction accurate of the current media landscape, if qualified, that's why your voice is more necessary now than ever. And that's why when I'm talking to you directly, Tiffany Cross, take a step back and say, I will not participate in that circus. I think that does a disservice to the
won't
people. Both of y'all, Tiffany Cross and Angela Rye. I think
Angela
that
won't do it.
does a disservice to all of us out here who need your voices pushing back. Because if I give you credit for an accurate portrayal of the media landscape as we're going through this treacherous time, if you all aren't there to be some type of stopgap voice, pushback, angry, speaking for us, then I fear that again there'll be people out there who are consuming this, because that clip made it all around. But you know what? You know how it didn't make it around? From people necessarily watching CNN. That clip made it around on TikTok, on all these my facial expressions, all these other things, and I just think that's sometimes we sell ourselves short for the greater good to protect our peace. And who am I to tell you to destroy your own peace?
Well, go ahead, please, because you actually.
We're targeted
Angela
by
won't. She has a perspective.
I think that there is a way to do it, and if I'm perfectly honest with y'all, I don't know the answer. I think
That's
that there are voices that I don't agree with that I want on this platform. If I could have Megyn Kelly come on so I could talk to her about the Michelle Obama BS, I would do it. I think the thing that I resent is when they have people who are not equally qualified.
Yes.
Debating.
That makes-
right.
okay.
So and
They
I
did that to
think,
you a lot.
And to just be completely honest, I know I'm thinking about this around views and monetization. Having Megyn Kelly on is going to be a boon for the show. So I'll make decisions like that. That is where I am similar to a CNN exec that's like, oh, this is going to be good for ratings. So I understand that. I also think it is imperative that if you make a decision like that, that whomever your other guests are, your hosts, are readily prepared with facts to refute some of that. Like,
that's part of the problem. Good for ratings and bad for democracy. So executives are like, yes,
but I think that, Tiff, I hate to say that at least a third of the country agrees with some of these people. I don't think it's half.
Yeah,
I don't think it's half. I think it's a third.
Either, but
because a third of the folks sat home,
True.
a third of the folks voted.
Okay.
Right?
I was thinking about voters. Okay, but you're right.
I'm thinking about voters too. A third of the voting base stayed home. A third Kamala, a third Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, I believe that we have some obligation to influence them and to equip our family members who are politically engaged or might be on the fringe to be. Let me just finish this one last point. Might be ready to almost engage. Give them the talking points. Give them the things that we're saying where they're like, okay, that makes sense. I can go home.
Are they convertible? Are those people receptive?
No, but that's not who you're talking to.
I'm talking about the people who listen to us and are like, I would fight them, but I just need the information.
And you also don't need a wide swath. You also need a wide. You don't need a wide. See, that's the thing. In order to shift democracy, in order to change the future of the country, you don't need a wide swath.
No, you're talking about decimal points.
You're talking about decimal points.
Yeah.
So do you see any inherent value? And Lord, the topic is way over there and we're down here now. But do you see any inherent value, Tiffany Cross, of you debating Ben Shapiro?
No.
And
absolutely not.
I do. And I just find that to be fascinating.
It has to be on a platform, though, and this is no diss to anybody that we're talking about today, a platform where there is a moderator that will fact check the debaters. If you're going to have a debate in earnest, Tiff says she doesn't like to debate. She debates with us about every damn thing.
She debates with me all the time.
About everything. Your eyebrows laid, no, they're not, they laid the other way. But I'm just saying, like, if there's somebody, like, let's say we're having a debate on reparations, right? And someone comes to the table and says, this country has never paid reparations before. The moderator come and say, actually, the Japanese, after Japanese internment, blah, blah, blah. And this, they can go through and say, and at the state level, this, and at the city level, these things happen to correct the narrative. I'm fine with that. But
so
if I'm going on somewhere where somebody's like,
dying breed.
That's a debate.
So I think
a fact check debate.
I take your point, but this is where I will qualify it. We can debate. Yes, let's just say for your argument's sake that we debate all the time. That I like to debebate. Let's say that.
To debate.
I don't like to debate. But
everybody who thinks Tiff likes to debate, raise your hand.
If y'all think I like to debate, y'all win. Okay, fine.
She even raised her hand.
For purposes of this argument, let's say that I like to debate.
Yeah.
I think our debates that we have here and debates that I'd be willing to have are policy positions. We can debate about school choice.
Yes.
That's a position where we might all feel differently. If my debate position is one and your debate position is rooted in a lack of my humanity,
I agree,
and is rooted in my oppression, then it is to me beneath me to entertain that thought. One, I don't think that those people are convertible in their thought. I think the handcuffed positions to white supremacy are so deeply penetrated in this country for 400 plus years. I'm just convinced I can't live alongside these homicidal maniacs and expect at some point they're gonna say, "Oh, you know what?
Totally disagree.
You're fine." I know you disagree.
No, the reason I disagree is because I look at an example like John Lewis and Julian Bond, who had to debate with Lyndon Baines Johnson, who saw them as niggas. They were 100% niggas, and the reason that they had to debate, the reason that they waded into that deep water to debate with somebody who did not see their humanity is because practically they saw some tangible goals that they could receive from that debate that they ended up succeeding in getting. I mean, that's why you have this really cool picture of my dad and John Lewis sitting on the sofa in the Oval Office. He got on these high waters. Because LBJ didn't see the benefit of their humanity.
That's true.
But they were able to go in and get the Voting Rights Act of 64, 65.
They were also activists, though. So, yeah, I think for activists, that might take on a different perspective. I think when your job is to inform the people, I don't think that's a good idea.
But if part of informing is to dismantle and discredit other positions, absolutely, there is a space for that, too. I just think that there's got to be a way to do it responsibly, and we have to figure out what that way is.
It's not being done responsible now. And I'll tell you, when you first started going on television, I would be disgusted at who they would put you across from. These are people who were not qualified to be your assistant, and they had you debating them the same way with you and Katie Miller. And I'm looking like, this is lopsided.
You're excuse my mouth, I'm trying not to cuss, but the goddamn governor of the state of
but let me say this.
I was offended at the debate.
I respect wholly what you mean by this mismatching and disrespect almost being suggested, right?
No, keep them in.
But I think there's some things we can no longer pretend don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
The ship has sailed on the fair moderator who's all-knowing, all-seeing, can come up the middle and say, this is a fact and that's a falsehood, or the like. That's not where we are. And I don't know that we're ever going back there. And so given where we are, the reality of where we are, and that people are getting information from these really short clips that look viral and they're sensational and they show conflict, but they're also in some ways, depending upon who is on the listening side, based in somebody's facts, right? And so if we don't accept the challenge that our folks, more than anything, because you talked about you believe these folks are not convertible, that's not who you're talking to. We're not sending you there to convert them. We are sending you there to give our team the information, resource, material they need so that they can be a better advocate for what we believe.
And hope.
Well, there's that. But more than anything, these people want to be able to repeat. Because most people want to be thought of as smart. So they want to hear from a smart person, some smart thoughts that they can then share with their friends who they know ain't listening to Native Land Pod, right? And then they're the smart ones of the group.
Daniel's question.
We are going to.
It came full circle.
Very good. Good job, guys. High five.
No, I mean, it's real. We got to equip them with the knowledge, the skills, and the tools. In very short order, so that we should play that video about the conservatives on the campuses and whether or not we thought we should, what that was like. And I said, did you see that black boy beast up? He was stating facts to those young Republicans that I'm not quite sure I believed he had under his command.
Correct.
Until he had him under his command.
That's right.
And so sometimes you've got to be face to face with the enemy. Sometimes you got to be just bare knuckles with them to show people what it's like to wrestle and to win at the end of the day. Then you equip them with the ability to do that. And I think the more we lean into that, forgetting about the fact that the ways of old used to be that there were fair and balanced conversations, we're not there anymore. That day is probably never coming back given our current landscape.
True.
We were just talking about this on the ride here.
Well, on top of this, I got mad thinking about Andrew's debate with Ron DeSantis. Like, they're not even on the same page. Like, how dare y'all put them to rumble in the same ring? But the reality of it is the same thing exists for our friends in Congress.
Yeah.
They're sitting in hearing rooms. The reason why beach blonde, bad built bitch, butch body. Every time I say bitch, I'm sorry.
Bees.
But her.
You've been cussing a lot
I
today.
know. Pray for me, Jesus.
It's the season.
Help me. I need to go to the
This
altar.
is the season.
No, it's season for repentance.
Beat me out. Some of that was actually a speech impediment issue just now. I tripped over my tongue.
So saying bitch is
bitch blonde.
What impediment
whatever
you got?
the point, I tripped over my tongue in that moment. It's an impediment, just a short one, temporarily.
They're sitting with maniacs.
Here's the point. Literally, she's talking. She's like, "Can you even see through your eyelashes?" That's where we got that bar from, right? So we're in position in corporate America, in boardrooms, in classrooms, in these types of rooms where we're with people who are not. They're punching above their weight all the time to even be sitting next to us, and so we have got to figure out a way to rumble in a way that isn't.
You don't have to go there.
Yeah,
right. You don't roll. Like I tell people all the time, you don't necessarily roll around with pigs. I mean, you both get muddy in the pig life.
Well, y'all might have to roll once, but my own point is,
listen,
you might.
And it's different from black men too. I will say that.
First of all, I think all four of us have a very good understanding that when we are in these spaces, the cues we have to take to not look dominant, angry, insulting to the woman. No. I'm just saying.
You got to realize I'm talking to a white woman on TV.
So all I'm saying
you had to be very calm.
We can rumble with them. But when I said we were not equals, I meant it. I'm not going to rumble the same way you are. I'm going to rumble how I rumble.
I'm going to teach you, boo boo.
No, because they're not capable of learning that. They can observe it, but they can't.
So when you're saying that you rumble differently, what is an elevated rumble? Please Do tell.
I mean, we could pull the clips. I've got
Andrew said
examples
I got it.
of
Maybe
elevated.
Can you for one
solo
second?
pod.
Can you for
I
one
like
second
it.
stop centering yourself?
Oh, God.
I literally just asked y'all
Here we
for
go again.
examples.
No, but I mean, like,
Beyonce.
I tell people this all the time. I say, you never argue with the fool because people watching can't tell the difference. And so when you're in these debates with people like that, first of all, we all have had the moment that you have to make this very conscious decision.
If
And
you gonna
everybody
whoop somebody
listening,
ass?
no, it's today to day I'm gonna lose my job.
Yes.
Like that is
Same thing.
that
That's
is
the
a conscious decision that you think about. Black folk think about this at work all the time. When they go into this meeting, they're like, it's today to day I'm gonna lose my job.
Yeah.
And then you center yourself and then you realize, like, I'm not trying to change Katie Miller. Like, I don't think I'm gonna have a conversation with Katie Miller and she gonna go back home to Stephen and be like, those strikes are bad, my love.
Bakari was
There you
right.
go.
Yeah, I thought
There
about
you
it.
go.
Bakari had a point.
Eat your roast beef,
in the
sweetheart.
Constitution.
That's a good point. You're not trying to convert
But what
Katie.
I am doing now, and this is why I will preach this and yell at Tiffany until I am blue in the face, and why I think her value is just immense.
Yeah.
Is because now those clips are going around, and even little black kids or whatever they are, just to your point, because you're not talking to Katie. You're not talking at her. You're talking around. And so, and I tell people, like, and particularly black men, I'm not saying that our job is more difficult. Our job is different because we can't get angry.
No.
Because if I get angry on air, then, oh my God, I'm threatened.
Yeah.
You know, you're 6'5". I'm threatened by your persona. Like, why are you so angry? This angry black man thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to maintain your sense, your calm,
Dignity.
your dignity, a side eye. And then you got kids. You're like, my kids watching this. I can't get up here and act a fool. Although, you know, if you would have caught me 10 years ago.
Eddie Rye built different because Eddie Rye 5'10". He like to say 5'11". Eddie Rye be hollering right at. He was yelling at somebody the other day. My mom's in a rehab facility. If door is open, Eddie Rye screaming. I said, so you do know that you scaring every single one of these patients in here. Can you please?
Yeah.
I took the phone. I said, is Mr. Weinberry? No, all due respect, he was talking to Mr. Weinberry. I said, Mr. Weinberry, he gonna have to call you back because he in here scaring all these patients. Like, you know, so he's built different. He's
And I know black women have a set of struggles, and I'm not saying one set is. I'm not doing the oppression Olympics, but I'm just saying I am unfortunately I'm sorry to speak for you, Andrew, but this is just something that we have in common when we go on TV or we're speaking in front of groups or we're rumbling, as you so eloquently put.
Well, I'll just say this. We're about to talk to somebody who has had her share of rumbles.
Yes,
and has had to levitate above some of the guttural ways in which our politics is taking shape from the highest office in the land.
That's right.
Let's check in.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
Yeah.
Right after this. All right, everyone. We are thrilled to bring to you all a good friend of ours. Her name is Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. She represents Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, and she has been front and center in the media this week, and it is not by her own doing. The president of these United States had this to say about Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and members of her community, the Somali Americans who live in Minnesota.
Barely a country, you know, they have no anything. They just run around killing each other. There's no structure. And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all, but I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly. Our Constitution, the United States of America, is a bad place. Hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, Somalians ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks. When they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
God, I hadn't seen that whole thing.
Yeah, I thought it was important to show as she still lets her light shine, despite what Donald Trump is saying. Congresswoman, I don't know you to be anything but a loving fighter. And it is so immensely frustrating to watch that take place in a cabinet meeting this week. What's your response to Donald Trump and the cabinet members who sat there as he went on this very dangerous, hateful, xenophobic tirade?
Racist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a bigoted fool. It's just the level of bigotry, xenophobia, Islamophobia. It's hard to understand how somebody can hold that much hate in their heart, and still be able to call other people hateful. It's also, I think, really creepy to have this level of obsession with somebody that you haven't met.
That's real. I wonder, Congresswoman, how do your constituents, your neighbors, and friends in Minnesota, I mean, I know Minnesota to be quite an incredible state, led by some pretty incredible people, yourself included, generous folks, good in spirit, good in heart, very honest. I mean, I don't want to over dramatize this, but really, I've had a lot of experiences and met a lot of people from your home state. I've fundraised there before. It's a good place. I wonder, how do your constituents respond? Everyday laypersons who don't have your experience with Donald Trump, right? He's the president of the United States. How do they reflect on that?
They've responded the only way Minnesotans know how to respond. They've responded with kindness, with love, with compassion. Prince is from Minnesota and once said, it's Minnesota nice, but it's cold and it keeps the bad people away. And so, we don't like hate in Minnesota.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I had is that people always see you with a national profile, but oftentimes you have really, really good members of Congress like yourself, and they don't know the successes and the tangible things that you've brought back to your district, brought back to Minnesota. When we're going out there fighting for you, tell us, what are some of the things that you've done in your legislative career for Minnesotans? And disregarding that national fervor, that push against you, how you've still been successful in bringing it home, to steal a word from Andrew Gillum, for Minnesota.
I appreciate that question. During COVID, I passed my Meals Act that helped feed 22 million children across the country and in Minnesota. I've also been able to bring back $46 million to invest in multi-family units, to create an entrepreneurial community kitchen for the Black community in my neighborhood, in my district, that have that entrepreneurial spirit. We've invested in essentially ending homelessness for veterans in Minnesota. So there's a lot of really good work that we have been able to do since I've been in Congress in 2019.
And Tiff, I want you to go, but I got to bring this up since you just brought up COVID-19. We, of course, are aware of the fraud that Donald Trump talked about at the cabinet secretary meeting. 80,000, at least, Somalis in Minnesota, and there have been 75 people indicted in association with the COVID-19 fraud scheme. The leader of that is someone that they have somehow decided to shield. Amy Bach, who is the Feeding Our Future executive director and founder, is a white woman, but somehow this became a Somali-led fraud. So I would love for you to debunk some of what has been widespread over the last several weeks, as if this hasn't been prosecuted since the Biden administration. But if you could talk a little bit about the truth around that case and why they're targeting Somalis is such a dangerous thing to be doing right now.
Yeah, as you alluded to, the ringleader of the fraud scheme and the person who helped make that fraud a reality, unfortunately, in our state, is not Somali. It's a Caucasian woman. We've also had others that have been indicted as well that are not of Somali ethnicity. The reality is there's 80,000 of us. Majority of us are citizens, over 90%. Many of us have been in the United States over 30 years. Many of us have not been resettled in Minnesota. We all started out in different states, about 90% of us. and chose to live in Minnesota and move there because it is such an incredible state that is so welcoming and has made us be able to thrive and be a vibrant part of the state and of the community. And Minnesotans in general are very resilient, very strong people. We don't survive and thrive in that cold weather without having some strength and resilience. And I know that as the raids are happening right now with ICE, they are being met with that resilience. They are being met with people who are showing them that they are citizens, and they're having a really hard time and making fools of themselves trying to find a non-citizen or somebody who is undocumented in our community, because that is like a needle in the haystack. We don't really have a lot of people who are undocumented. Majority of us came to the United States with a refugee status, which means you come in with documentation. And it means that we get our green card within a year, and within 5 years, we are citizens, and we have the highest number of immigrants of any kind in the United States when it comes to achieving that citizenship.
Congressman, I think it's really important for our viewers and listeners to understand why Somalians are receiving TPS, the temporary protected status. This was actually granted under the Bush administration, H.W. Bush, in 1991, after the fall of Saeed Barre, which led to a clash of warlords. And so people have been fleeing the Horn of Africa for decades now. Because this community keeps getting granted TPS, and now that the entire structure of our democratic norms, including TPS, has been thrown into disarray, I want to know, what is the practical solution when our government is disappearing people? So when ICE shows up to your constituents' door simply because they are Somalian, what are they supposed to do? Particularly at a time where they are disappearing people to foreign countries. We have no idea. We're not keeping track of these people. People are literally disappearing from data, from watchdog organizations. What is the practical thing that they should do when the government knocks on their door with the intention to disappear them?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Like I said earlier, many of the Somalis who are in the United States are citizens, and they are green card holders, so permanent residents. We have about 400 folks around the country out of the 130,000 or so Somalis that are in the United States, and those folks with TPS status. What we have been telling folks before even the administration was sworn in was to get their documentations in order, because we knew that with Project 2025, it wasn't just going to be this administration going after people who were undocumented or who had some sort of shaky status. But they were ultimately coming for every single person that could look like an immigrant, especially if you were brown or black. And so our community has been preparing for this fact. And that is why, I said earlier, with the ICE rates, they are seeing, folks have their passport IDs, which folks can get if they don't want to carry their passports. Folks are they're taking photos of their passports so that they have it on their phones. People know, where the immigration lawyers are, where the resources are within the Twin Cities and the state. A lot of people have connections to the ICE offices and enforcement. And so this is a community that is equipped with information and feels empowered to be able to defend themselves. And so that would be, I guess, my recommendation to everyone else is, one, know your rights. You do not have to respond to ICE agents unless they have a warrant that is signed by a judge. You don't have to show identification of any kind if it's not warranted by any law enforcement. And if you do have an undocumented status, please make sure that you carry any sort of documentation that could be helpful and in making sure that you do not get abducted and detained, because ICE detentions are very inhumane. And these ICE agents are also, a lot of them are untrained in many aspects, and it could be a very dangerous encounter.
Congresswoman, I know you have to run. I just want to ask a quick follow-up. So I appreciate you drawing the difference between, green card holders and those with TPS status. However, I think we're seeing, we're at a moment in history where so many people are awaiting this invisible red line to be crossed. And we see that happen again and again. We've seen U.S.-born citizens abducted and detained. And so as a member of Congress, you are a part of these democratic norms. You are a part of a structure. And I'm wondering if what you're saying still matters today. And more importantly, will it still matter 5 years from now? We've already eroded some of these norms. We've already, to a certain extent, normalized people being disappeared. So the advice you're giving is relevant to, some may say it's relevant to a government of yesterday. We've seen ICE have violent confrontations with people. When people are bearing witness with their phones, we've seen them be attacked by ICE. And then it would beg the question, who are these people who are allegedly of ICE? They're masked, often not showing their ID. How do we know these aren't Proud Boys in uniform? It seems like all the rules have been thrown out. So I guess I'm kind of sounding the alarm to you and wondering what do we do from here from a legal perspective, a congressional perspective, but also a perspective just from our personhood when we're physically confronted with these things.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is the question that we're all asking ourselves, right? Are the norms that we are used to, the laws that we know exist, do they apply? And will they continue to apply? I think as lawmakers, it is our job to continue to do some oversight. It is our job to, visit these ICE detention centers, to do the field hearings, to put the information out for people. But it is, as you said, these are very dangerous times. And we have to also document and learn from this moment, because as Democrats, when we do have the power back with our gavels, we are going to have to do some accountability, and we are going to have to do some investigations and subpoenas and figure out, how do we hold people accountable who have broken the law as they carried out this sort of mass deportation. And I would say I don't only tell people who are, who became a citizen or a legal resident to carry their paperwork. My son was born here and he has a passport ID. So that fear is in every single person. Wow. That could be attacked and be attacked by ICE agents as they just go about their day to day. So it just is that kind of time that we're living through. That it is necessary for us to be able to empower ourselves with every tool that we have. And lastly on this, I will say, community matters. We have seen that they have not been successful in Portland, Oregon, in Chicago, Illinois, in LA, California. And we're certainly seeing that they're not being successful in Minneapolis or St. Paul, Minnesota, because community is showing up. People are defending one another. People are providing information and protection to one another. And people are alerting each other when they see something coming. And so I would also say we have to think of ourselves as being part of community and protecting our neighbors and our beloved ones, because what this administration is relying on is that we all become so fearful and that we are intimidated into silence, into not defending the rights that we have under the Constitution in this country. And it is important for us to know those rights and to show up for one another in protection of those rights, because these are rights that were hardly earned and fought for by those that came before us.
I will just say on that community, you come from the Twin Cities, and I just want you to hear from our dear brother and friend, the mayor of St. Paul, Melvin Carter, who had this to say about Trump's comments.
And so when we talk about attacks, racist, Islamophobic, xenophobic attacks on our Somali community, and you combine that with what Mayor Frye just said, the vast majority of our Somali community are citizens. So who he just attacked isn't just Somalis. Who he attacked is Somali Americans. Who he attacked is Americans. And so if the President of the United States is telling you out loud that he hates Americans, then I can't imagine a greater confession of incompetence to do the job that you've been hired to do than to say you don't believe that Americans belong in America. That's what Donald Trump said to us today, and it's very important for us to understand that that was not just an attack on our Somali community, it was an attack on our Somali community, and everything Mayor Frye and Councilman Osmond said is important. But it's easy to sit at home and say, oh, he's attacking them. He's attacking Americans, American citizens, American residents, American neighbors. They're destabilizing communities and trying to get us to be afraid of somebody because of what they look like. And as Mayor Frye said, it's probable that there will be constitutional abuses. It's not probable. It's what they're saying. They are saying they target people based on how they look. Now, all of us grew up in classes that taught us that that's wrong. And it's still wrong today. So what you heard the president say today was that he is incompetent and incapable of being a president for the people of the United States because he just said out loud that he despises Americans. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Melvin always brings the fire. Beautiful.
As Andrew sits here with his Rattler's cup. We're so grateful for your time today, Congresswoman.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman.
And for your fight and for your courage.
Yes.
We see
and
you.
our prayers to you for your safety and your peace
Her
and
children.
your blessings. Yes, and your children.
Much love, sis.
Thank you all.
I love it.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
That's kind of my call to action too, kind of, sort of. Are we?
Oh, let's get into it.
Yeah, because I just where I ended with her was the prayers for her family and her safety. I just think that we have to do a better job of lifting people up who are in the shadows.
Yeah.
And I said that before Thanksgiving, talking about people who are still incarcerated. I just don't think that we're so consumed with our day in and day out, and we talk about this as if it's just news when there are actual people there. So, I pray for the courage of Hakeem Jeffries because I'm not sure anymore, which is also a very dangerous place to be. But I also pray for those families who are going through the unmentionable right now. Of just can you imagine? We niggas, right? We got a lot of stuff that we got to worry about.
Regents.
But being like picked up on the sidewalk on the way home, that ain't really one of our concerns right now. So a lot of times it's hard to empathize. And so I'm just asking people to have a modicum of empathy. That's my call to action.
Yeah.
I love that.
feel that.
I have two. The first one is quick. Y'all didn't really let me get into Pop the Balloon. So can we talk about that on the mini pod?
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Stop
And
that.
it won't be a debate because everyone will agree.
Everybody knows
Everyone will agree.
I don't
Well,
debate.
tune in to see how we feel because we're going to talk about that on the mini pod. And my second call to action is something that's also very consistent with something I say here. And that is dogs are not Christmas gifts. Okay, they are responsibilities, and so I see all the time people.
I'm getting Sadie and Stokely a dog.
You are.
Are they gonna
Please
hear
let
this
me
on
be
the
a part of
podcast?
it. Please let me be a part.
They
of
won't
it.
make it to the end of the podcast.
Oh.
We'll be all right.
I want to be a part of this dog choice, but I see people all the time who will gift someone a dog, and so many dogs end up in shelters, euthanized, like literally tens of thousands in different communities get euthanized every month. So if it's like giving somebody a 2-year-old child and saying, Merry Christmas, they're yours for the next 15 years because they're babies who never grow up. So I don't give a damn about your exhale, Andrew.
No, I'm
Flip
Jesus.
the table over.
Hey, I'm on your
Dogs are
side.
not-
No, listen,
You are
last
not.
year,
I
I'm on
already know
your
how you
side.
feel
All
about-
3 of my kids, at the top of their list last year was a dog. They conspired. They want, and so we bought them a
Andrew said, "I
dog
ain't
with
taking it."
batteries.
Okay, all right.
Take it out, it pees, it
Yes.
does things. And guess what? They did it for the first week.
And they didn't after. And that's the point when they're like, this is going to be your dog. Not mine. Like, kids cannot take care of a dog. It's going to be your dog. If you cannot take care of a dog for 15 years and welcome the dog in your home and treat them with care and responsibility, do not get a dog. If you are getting a dog, please adopt, don't shop. Go to shelters, don't go to breeders. That's all I gotta say.
Cosign.
What's the name of the organization that does this? Puts a sad doggy commercial on? Please give this girl an endorsement deal and a board seat.
I give them money every month.
If y'all really want to find a good date for Tiffany.
Get her a dog?
No, take her to PetSmart on Saturday morning so she can pet the dogs that they got out there.
She don't even need to. Just on the walk there, she gonna go do.
Angela, no. When we are together
you
and
be
I see
texting
a
your
dog,
homeboys. Yeah, I got another hour.
Tim, do your doggy voice.
I say run. I say run.
That's how she.
I tell the people. We walk down the street in DC. I run. She's coming.
Andrew and Angela, no. They're always like, let's go,
but they all know her. And they love her.
My call to action is, I have a good one.
Oh, Lord.
My call to action
She just came up with it, y'all.
No, I really did. Because I was stuck, but I have it. You guys, I was so stressed out trying to get everything together for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I have cracked the code. I now know that I'm going to have all my prep done 24 to 36 hours ahead of time. I had staff that came to help the day of. It's too late. I'm going to have the sous chef people come a day and a half before. I'm ready.
Is that your call to action?
Yes, get some help.
Yes,
get some help
and
prepare
your cousins and your aunties and your uncles and your friends.
Nope. My family's gonna come over. We're gonna do a sleepover before Christmas too. We are gonna do that. We're gonna have more prep time together. But I'm just saying, save your sanity, turn the music on, get the drinks pouring, and have a good time prepping for your Christmas holiday if you're gonna do that, or Kwanzaa, or whatever you celebrate.
You're saying
Hanukkah.
Hire people.
Because
judge,
what
about for the people out there who are
I'm not just saying
struggling this holiday season?
I just want to be clear. I said, and my family members. I said,
so they are going to help.
My family member. I said they're going to have a sleepover. We're going to prepare stuff too. But I'm saying I did have some extra support. My mom, as you all know, I think now has been in rehab, and so just to make sure we didn't let anything slip through the cracks, I got a few people in to help us as well.
So
she's
just
not
translation.
Helping. No,
Angela
what I'm
is
saying
telling
is, let me start over because I'm confusing. Apparently. Let me be very clear.
It made sense to me.
I had support that I paid for Thanksgiving because my mom has been in rehab and we've been making sure that she had everything she needs. So normally I can just lock in. I couldn't just lock in and I was exhausted. In addition to that, we have family members who also prepared things and came over. It was the day of. The day of is too late. My recommendation is for the people who pay, who volunteer, who are your family members to come help, have them come beforehand so that you can get prepared ahead of time and things can be ready on time the day of.
That is the call to action is get prepared beforehand. Yes, I concur.
I think everybody got it, but you talking
about.
You
she was like, so you just classes.
No, what I was trying to say
hire people to help you, but you're saying prep.
I'll deputize you
ahead
a chef.
We do that too. But
you do what?
I will anoint you chef.
I see. Okay.
And sous chef and cousin so-so.
But you can look at people. You can look at people and tell who ain't supposed to be in the kitchen now.
There's not a
yes.
And also, I love animals. I had a snake growing up. I love dogs. But they will interrogate you, Tiffany, about the habits you have with your dogs before you can walk in the kitchen.
What habits?
Like, is your dog one of the ones in the pocket that be licking on your face and hands and stuff?
Like you feeding it straight from the pot and then put your hand back in the pot.
You can't come in the kitchen around the food.
So I don't think the dog should be in the kitchen.
Household you ever been in?
There's some black people that will feed their dog straight out of pot.
They may be, but there's a protocol in the kitchen.
I agree.
Oh, I agree. I'm telling you, first of all, protocol will be established.
Before you walk in the door.
Protocol having already been established.
Which is why they say.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, Tiffany's already might not be anointed.
No, I'm not saying they don't feed their pets, that kind of thing.
But there are black people who, like the things that y'all are talking about, there are black people who do that, who will like have their dogs cooking.
Lick them in the mouth.
The Instagram of black people pets, it is it's one of my favorite files. But you see black people
in the kitchen.
Kind of thing.
Some black people do that.
That drives me crazy. Like you see that, I love cooking videos.
I'm never gonna eat at your house.
But I just can't. I can't. On the counters.
I
love dogs. That is a
because they eat their own poop.
I'm aligned with Tiffany on this.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is
also,
unacceptable.
You shouldn't be double dipping in the pot neither. If you put your hand in the pot or put your thing in the pot
or
and
your
you double
spoon
dip
and
it,
you double
come
dip.
on.
Yeah,
I don't do double dipping.
That's nasty. I'm too much of a germaphobe.
I mean, if you have a tender and you dip opposite ends, then that's the only thing I find to be acceptable.
dip
what?
opposite ends.
Of like a chicken tender.
Yeah.
Like if you have a tender and you dip it in. And then,
I was
talking about a
thinking
person.
a person
Look,
or
y'all-
an
boat tender. You know, a
Well,
tender
you know, I
on a
don't
boat.
pop the balloon egg, so that's why I thought you was talking about a
little
tender.
tenderoni.
I thought you were talking about.
tenderoni.
I thought you were talking about the little small
You know
boat
what?
that goes
Andrew
with the
didn't.
yacht.
I started a debate
A
in my
tender.
call to action, so we
Yes.
can get to Andrew's yet.
I co-signed Tiffany's.
Oh, you
What?
did say that. He wants
About the dog?
Don't get a dog for Christmas.
Okay, well, thank
Yeah,
you,
I
Andrew.
aligned with it because as you threw me under the bus before I got off the bus, which is
I
impossible.
wish you were an animal
Can't
person.
get under the bus if I'm still on the bus.
Well, anyway,
Just
welcome
get to the
home,
back
y'all.
of the bus.
Please get out the back of the bus because we just
It's
celebrated the
delirium up in
70th
here.
anniversary of
It's
the Montgomery
delirium.
bus boycotts. Shout out to Rosa Parks and everybody that came before her.
Welcome
worked
home,
alongside.
everybody.
How many
welcome,
days before
welcome,
the next election?
welcome
they
home.
I mean,
And
are we
because
going to have a
there
next election?
I beg your pardon?
I think there will be midterms.
Well, no, they want to know how many days left until the next election.
Oh,
right here.
I'm sorry.
Here,
I mean,
here
I
you
know
go.
that, but
Here you
but
go.
I thought you said there
Here
won't
you
be
go.
another election. But yes, there will, and it will be in 334 days.
All right.
334 days until the next national election, which will take place in your various states. Now, please check your state, local calendars, because you all will have primaries prior to that, depending upon where you live. Participate in that.
Amen. Welcome home.
We
y'all.
out here.
Welcome home.
Welcome
Deuces.
home.
Welcome home.
y'all. Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.